Hey, check it out. This is Trace Masterpieces, and in this video we're going to talk about, are there limits to your artistic ability? So I was trying to think of what sort of video to make, and I got to thinking about like artist skills and how to improve them and that sort of thing. But I also was wondering, hey, wait a second, maybe there's a limit to all of that. And I got to thinking about what those limits might be, why it happens, why some artists aren't as good as other artists. And let's explore that a bit. If you look at something obvious, the age of a person, I think that has an influence on how good they can be. Younger people lack experience in general about anything, and obviously because of that, they won't be able to contemplate as well and kind of control their mind. The mind goes through a process of development throughout our lives, continuously kind of becomes better. And I've heard the mind fully develops by the age of 25 or something like that. So think about it. A lot of people that are younger than that age are creating art, and you can see the differences between younger people and older people in how much control they have over themselves, over their medium, over their tools and things like that. So that plays a part in how good you can be in the way of expressing yourself, right? A lot of younger people lack that sort of control over themselves, and they're more chaotic, more random, and you can see that reflected in their work, their artwork. A child has, usually scribbles a lot, and why is that? It's pretty obvious, but you don't really think too much about it, right? Because we're all just kind of following this path in life, looking forward into the future, and a lot of times we don't see how that connects with the past and why we were in the place that we're at that time, relative to where we could be and where we were. If that makes sense. Anyways, that's just one limit that we have to our art. So if we're wondering why we're not improving drawing or creating art at the time, that's one reason why. Because of our mind and the age that we are, right? How we've developed up to this point, right? And we like to think, if we just practice and practice and practice, we'll get better and better and better, and there's no limit to it, right? Well, you have to question that, because the evidence is there regarding your age and of development and what sort of stuff they produce, right? Look at what's happened already. Look at what always continues to happen. And how younger people lack that control over themselves and ability to contemplate in a precise, controlled manner relative to someone that's more developed and older and more experienced, right? Why is that? Okay. So think about that. Now, are there other limits? Probably. Maybe some people have certain biological, genetical, certain genes or genetics that promote certain processes in the mind. I've heard of mirror neurons that allow you to be more creative and that sort of thing. Some people have more of those than other people, and that allows you to think or relate things that don't seemingly relate with each other. And you do that a lot with art, and because you have to interpret things in a new way just by observing the details and that sort of thing. So maybe some people have more of a specific neuron than other people. So those reasons are kind of things that are out of your control, basically. But there could be other things that are in your control. maybe not in your control. Like maybe certain situations or circumstances don't really promote situations where you can actually practice drawing. Maybe you're in a situation that distracts you a lot, or doesn't give you the time to exercise the artistic process and that sort of thing. So by changing that, it could help improve your ability to get better and that sort of thing. Maybe your personality that you've developed over time kind of hinders yourself to focus on the task. If you're very talkative and require that social interaction, maybe that influences and prevents you from isolating yourself and focusing on what you're doing instead of what other people are doing, right? If you're too invested in other people's work, it might be to the detriment of your own work, right? But on the flip side, you could also say that could help your work by being interested in other people's work, seeing what they do could kind of improve what you do. So there's kind of a unclear nature as to whether it helps or doesn't help, that sort of thing. But it depends on what exactly you're looking for and what the motive is behind it, right? So that's another thing to think about. And of course there are other things that you may have more control over, like whether you're actually trying to spend time improving your skills by actually drawing and that sort of thing. But that it's kind of, I don't know, a mute point maybe, because if you're interested in creating art and drawing, that sort of thing, it's more likely that you want to do it, right? And you'd naturally want to find the time to do that, right? And it's also kind of interesting when you think about why people do certain things versus other things, right? And it makes you wonder why some people want to do something but haven't done it before, right? Like what's holding them back? And that also kind of ties into what I was saying, talking about other things that you don't have control over. What exactly don't they have control over that's preventing them from doing the things that they want to do, right? Maybe there's some psychological thing that's holding them back. I saw someone who wanted to create art, but they didn't know how to start. They couldn't draw. They couldn't start drawing. They wanted to draw, but they couldn't even bring themselves to create a mark on the paper. They didn't know where to begin. I don't know why. They seemed very frightened of even doing it, even though they wanted to. Okay, so there are certain strange things that kind of hold people back, and the only way of explaining that, is to what I'm saying is, you can't explain those things to other people. They have to explain those things to themselves, because they're the only ones that will understand what they're dealing with as far as that goes. So I created this video where I'm exploring, are there limits to your artistic ability? And I think I've kind of shown, or I've kind of explained that there are these things, okay? There's not just one thing. There's multiple things that could be holding you back from improving your art skills. And so you have to think about that in a broader way. It's not just the things that you're doing when you're drawing. It's not just thinking about what you aren't drawing, what you aren't doing in your drawing in that moment. There are other things involved that can affect the time when you are drawing, okay? So I think it is important that to draw more and create more art, because that offers you the opportunity to exercise that skill. But it's not just that process that will improve your art. You have to improve other things in your life too that will also kind of reflect in whatever you do, okay? So just think about that. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. These things will help convince YouTube to push this channel. If you'd like to support us in other ways, you can make a donation at our Patreon page by going to tracingmasterpieces.com/support for more information. I'd like to thank This Is Abusive for their $20 contribution. I'd also like to thank Zarknark for their $10 contributions. And I'd also like to thank my $5 contributors as well. And lastly, if you'd like to join our Discord server, you can go to tracingmasterpieces.com/Discord.